Great. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you to Laura for inviting me to speak on this topic, which is something that I think is of concern to a lot of people. So I just want to share some of my thoughts and experiences, and I hope they're going to be helpful to you. But before I do, I'd just like to briefly introduce myself, because I'm aware that most of you won't know who I am or anything about me. So before I started my journey in network marketing or MLM or whatever you want to call it, I had a very different place in life. I was a very busy and stressed out IT support manager. It wasn't a dream job, and I just fell into it like a lot of people. Right up until the point where I was made redundant twice in 10 months. And that brought me up sharp. It was very scary. I was a single mother with 2 teenage sons. But it made me stop and think about what I was doing in life and where I was going. And I realized I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want to be driving home at 10:30 at night, not remembering the drive home because I was so tired and stressed. I wanted more time for my family and friends and to do the things I wanted to do. And I also realized at that point in my life that I needed to do something about my financial future. I changed jobs a lot, taken a career break and done all sorts when my boys were small. And my pension arrangements were pretty awful. And it was getting a bit late to actually do anything much about that. So when I saw a business opportunity like this, I realized that it would offer me a chance to deal with both those things. I could secure my financial future. No one would make me redundant again. I could walk away when I was ready, and I built my business alongside a very demanding career for quite a while. But now this is what I do, and it's my pleasure and privilege to offer people an opportunity to do what I've done, which is to earn a full-time income, working from home, which I love, working part-time, and helping other people achieve what they want to in life. And that's really what network marketing is all about. And I'm sure, I think most of you are in a network marketing business, so I'm sure you'll agree that's what we were looking for. But if you look at the slide, you'll see a quote from the wonderful Eric Worre. I expect some of you are actually acquainted with Eric Worre, probably know his GoPro book or CD. And yes, he is amazing. He's a leader and a trainer. He has fantastic events where people speak, but he's also been himself in the past a very successful network marketer. So it might seem a bit strange that he'd say there's a stigma when it comes to MLM. People attack our industry and our business frequently. I've seen it, I've heard it. They feel free to attack what we do and how we do it, where they wouldn't do that with another business. I've seen people moaning about Facebook posts, but I've actually unfriended or unfollowed dog groomer, nail technician, someone who does crafts, because I was sick of seeing 12, 14 posts one after another on my timeline from them. So we're not the only people who are what you might call a little bit prone to that kind of activity, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we actually need to help change people's perception of what we do, and we can do that by doing it well. As he says, being the change that we're looking for in this profession. And I really do think that most people complain about having a bad experience for a number of reasons. They've maybe met what we'd call an amateur networker. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. We all start out clueless, not knowing what we're doing. And it's mostly an excessive enthusiasm and a desire to succeed, allied with perhaps not enough training, just not enough experience, that make people act in a way that others find a little bit unprofessional. But really, it's just enthusiasm, and we just need to channel that enthusiasm a little bit, I think. Or maybe they know someone that's had a bad experience. Maybe their auntie or their sister or their friend got involved with a network marketing company and it didn't work for them. Or maybe they had a sponsor or an upline who wasn't that fantastic, or they joined a company that didn't work that well and wasn't that ethical. But to be fair, most of the people who are quite negative are negative because they've not been successful. And quite often they've not been successful because they didn't do what they were guided, trained, or advised to do. And they come away and they get into the blame game and they blame the company, the products, nobody they knew would help, buy, whatever, and they moan. And I'm afraid you're just going to get that, and you have to ignore it and get past it, because we know that what we have to offer is really something remarkable. And I personally am eternally grateful to the lady that offered me this chance. But you can see on the screen, this quote is actually placed on what? The Great Pyramid. And that's another thing that's often thrown at us. Now, I don't want to get into the whole pyramid scheme debate. What all of us do is not a pyramid scheme, because they wouldn't be in existence, those companies, if they were. Most of you, I'm sure, know pyramid schemes, which have a very specific definition, are illegal in the UK. But people use that sometimes as a term to degrade what we do, to put it down, and sometimes because they don't know any other word for it. And the whole pyramid thing I don't normally get involved in, because you can't argue with someone who knows what they know. They have an opinion and they're very attached to it. But I do sometimes say to people, yep, most organizations are a pyramid. Well, they are, aren't they? You look at someone that people really admire, Richard Branson, very successful businessman, makes a lot of money from his business. Well, he started it, so he should. But I don't think he sells many train tickets. But every time someone sells a train ticket, he makes money. He makes money from them. He's at the top of the pyramid. That's worth thinking about, I think. I don't begrudge him that money, but none of his ticket sellers could ever really have his job. They could never really rise up through the ranks as far as he has. They could be successful, they could stop selling tickets and move up and move on and get a really good job, but they will never go past what he does. They will never earn more than him, be more successful than him. And yet, one of my big aims in my business is to enable my team to be more successful than me, to go further than me. And that, again, is something that you can do in network marketing. So I think we owe it to the world to let people know how to do it right and what it can do for you in it. Next slide, please, Laura. Okay, so thank you. So just a little bit, this is a little bit about ethics and hints and tips. So I just want to say a few words initially about company ethics. Most of the companies in the UK that I know of, I don't know all of them, but I know the leading ones, are very ethical and legal. They wouldn't have survived this long if they weren't. There are occasionally some that are less so, and sometimes some come onto the scene. They don't generally stay long. They disappear again. But in other countries, you'll find that that's not always the case. So what are we talking about in terms of company ethics? When you're looking at a company, maybe you're researching it, find out a little bit about it. Are they honest? Do they do what they say? Do they treat you well? Are they legal and compliant? This is really important these days. Compliance has become a big thing because of social media. If you're chatting to someone over a coffee, you can give them a fairly relaxed and informal picture of your service or products or what they can do, and that's fine. If it's being posted all over the internet, it has to be 100% legal, compliant, and what you might call provable. So you have to be a lot more careful. So does the company have a compliance policy, compliance issue? And this might sound really boring, but if they don't, and there's a complaint made, then the company could be sanctioned because it's been misrepresented. So yeah, I'm afraid legal and compliant is boring, but it really is important, especially these days. Is it fair? Is the compensation plan fair? Now I admit that's a tricky one because a lot of network marketing compensation plans are quite complicated, and that's really just the way it is. To be able to reward people who are really working their business, make sure they're not sitting down filing their nails while their team is out doing all the work, the compensation plan needs to have a lot of checks and balances. But fundamentally, is it fair? Is it realistic? Can the company fund it? I know the company I work with, its rewards and incentives are 100% self-funding. If someone achieves something and gets paid for it, then the business they generated to achieve it will have covered the cost of the incentive. Are there lots of promotions? How are they achieved? And what are their rules? Do they publish their rules? Do they give you clear guidelines? We get a book when we start with my company which tells you everything you can and can't do. Now I'm sure we all sit down and read it cover to cover. Not. But it is there, and the most important rules are pretty well known. Things like not selling on auction sites, not product dumping, not poaching, not behaving in an unprofessional way, the rules for achieving position, all kinds of detail which again most of us perhaps aren't always fully aware of until it comes across our desk and someone complains about something. And how do they deal with offenders? I know for a fact that my company has what they call terminated. It sounds really sinister, doesn't it? But they have terminated quite senior people for breaking the rules. They are applied in a very even-handed way. They will phone you for something fairly minor. You'll get a warning, you get an email, you get a phone call. But for someone who's really grossly broken the rules, misrepresented the company, put all of our livelihoods in danger, then they will get their distributorship taken away from them. And it doesn't matter what level they're at. So the company is very fair in dealing with offenders. Does it supply incredible training and support? Now, I don't know about all the network marketing companies out there in the UK. I only know a lot about the one I work with, but it has a scheme called Investors in People, which anyone who's probably worked in a corporate role or HR or a lot of other roles within big companies will know is a government scheme to encourage and provide good training and support to their people. And the company I work with has this. Is the training of good quality? When you go to a training event or you look at a video or you get on an online training, do you get what you need? Do you get information, motivation? Do you get training at a reasonable cost? Again, I know we have a lot of free online resources. Team events are often free, or maybe £2 or £3 to cover the cost of a room hire where there's a room. And company events, training events are charged at cost, as are a lot of the company training materials if you need to buy anything. A lot is provided free, the rest is provided at cost, so the company doesn't profit. I do know of one company in the past where a lot of the high achievers made quite a lot of their money from publishing books and audios for other people to buy. That, to my mind, is not in the least bit ethical. Charging new people to get the experience of senior people is not ethical, and I think I'd look very doubtfully at any company that did that. Normally, if anybody senior has written a book or produced an audio and they do sell it, it's either sold to the general public as a general interest, or it's sold and the money is given to charity. I do know of that happening. So yes, does the company provide excellent training and support? And to get started, again, this is all about ethics. Does it have a starter pack? Is that clear? Is it well costed? Is the cost fair? Now, I know some companies don't have a startup cost. That depends on the nature of your product or service. Some might not need it so much, but I'd be very wary of a company that says you can get started for no outlay. You're starting a business, potentially a business for most companies that can earn you a six-figure income. Why wouldn't you invest? And I know that not everyone will have enough money sloshing around in their bank account to cover the startup cost. I never encourage anyone to borrow, but if they decide to do so themselves, then I will work my socks off to help them make that money back so that they can repay it as soon as possible. But that is their choice, and I've known people across the world in countries way, way poorer than the UK who have really gone to extreme measures to get started. But trust me, if you have literally put your all on the line to start your business, you will work your socks off. And honestly, if someone does what we do and what we suggest, they will make the cost of their starter pack back very, very quickly. What's the company's policy on returns? I know our company takes products back and replaces them for us. We refund the money within 60 days, even if someone's used the entire contents. Network marketing companies are brilliant for that. Other companies less so. Try going to the high street and taking back a bottle of shampoo because you didn't like it. My company will refund your money, no questions asked. And the same if someone gets started. They maybe invest in their starter pack and they get buyer's remorse. They're sorry, they didn't mean it, they don't want to do it, their husband says they can't do it, their wife says they can't do it. What happens then? They can resign, send back their product, pay a small carriage fee, and that's it. They don't need to do anything else. If they've used a little product, the company will take back anything that's unopened and will even send a courier to collect it in some instances. And although I wouldn't encourage people to start with that attitude, I do know that they have refunded money to people who have been in the business considerably longer than the cool-off period, because in the end, a company wants people to be involved because they want to be involved. So those are the kinds of issues I think to consider when you're looking at company ethics. But those are mainly for us. Are we getting involved with a company which is ethical and honest and legal? And one that's not going to pack up shop within the next 5 minutes, because I've known that happen. The person who started the company has made his money and decided that he doesn't want to run the business anymore, and he shut up. I know this happened to someone who was massively successful, and overnight her six-figure income was gone. Now, she works now with the company I'm with, but that was a big wake-up call. That was in Germany. It happens in other countries. Companies close, and your income has gone. So again, you need to look at a company's track record. Okay, thanks, Laura. Next slide, please. But it's our own ethics that are the key thing, because it's our ethics that affect the way our business and our company is perceived. And the big one here is recruitment. How do we recruit in a professional and ethical way? And you see some real horror stories here. This is where problems can really, really arise. So first of all, our initial approach to people and our attitude when we offer them a chance to look at the business should always be, obviously, I hope, professional and friendly. Not pushy, not gushing. And again, I know we've all done it. We were new, we were excited, we thought everyone would want to do what we were doing. God, this is fantastic. And we just gushed all over people. We learn. But obviously that's not something to aim for, that approach. Be honest and open. Be straight with people. Just ask them to take a look. All we're ever doing is asking someone to look at some information in the first instance. And that's what we need to do. We don't need to get desperate, to get pushy. And this is where I think some of the more difficult sides of the story come in, because this business attracts all kinds of people. Most of them are great. Most of the people I've met through my network marketing business have been amazing. Not everyone. Not everyone is a nice person. So it's things like poaching. Don't poach. I've approached people who've been approached by someone else, and my general response, if they're still in touch with that person and they know who they are, is really they should go back and have another word with them. If this is what they're looking for, yeah, go back to X or Y. If they're not in touch with them anymore, then obviously I'll take them through the process. Company hopping. This is really common in places like the US where there are lots of companies. Someone's successful with one company, the grass is greener, they go and join another. My company allows you to be a member of another network marketing company. It doesn't allow you to promote that other company, and certainly not to your team or anyone else's team. That is something that you will definitely be terminated for. But you do see companies coming into the UK from overseas, and their strategy is to try and recruit a few people from a successful company like ours and get them to recruit others. And we've seen it, and we all suffer from it. It's very sad, but bear in mind, if you're trying to poach from other network marketing companies, the people you're most likely to poach are those who aren't successful, because successful people are happy where they are. I personally wouldn't be interested in joining another company, and I know many of my colleagues in other companies feel the same. Find a company you love that you can work with and stay with them. Company hopping, having more than one business, you know, there's a saying, it's a little bit crass, but you can't ride two horses with one ass. You really can't. You can't put your energy, you can't be ethical, you can't be credible if you're trying to promote two entirely different things. The only reason to change companies, and I heard this from a US trainer that I worked with some years ago, is if your company's being a jerk. And that's what she said. The company you're with isn't a fit for you, you don't like their products, their services, then change. So when, where and how do we approach people? Social situations, the workplace, things like that, no. By all means, when you get chatting, tell someone what you do. People will ask you, have your story. If they're interested, have the discipline to say, this isn't really the right time. Can we exchange numbers? I'll give you a call in a week and we can have a chat about it. Don't put yourself in hot water in your day job. That won't go down well. Nothing wrong with talking to people about your products or services at work, but take it away from the workplace as soon as you can. Networking. Respect when you're at a networking group or in any kind of networking environment that most of the people you're talking to will have set up their business because they love it. They may very well not be interested. I know a social media expert and trainer, and I worked with her a little bit, and she thanked me for not beating her up to join my business because several other people had. It makes me cringe. So have respect for what people do. Sound out. Does it sound like they'd be interested? It's about them. Why would they be interested? And if the situation's inappropriate, you're at a wedding, or, God, even worse, at a funeral, take it away from that environment. Phone someone. Have a conversation with them later. Again, another one that's really interesting, I think, is persistent versus pestering. And this is partly down to experience and partly down to people's perception. Following up is really, really important, whether it's with customers or with someone looking at the business. Follow up. We follow up when we say we're going to. If we don't get hold of them, we follow up again. Sometimes that might take some time. I've had people that I've phoned after a while, I've left them, I've gone back to them, and they said, oh, I'm glad you called. I've lost my phone, I lost your number, I lost your card, I've been wanting to speak to you. Other people are quite sniffy when you go back to them. Although they said, yes, come back to me in 3 months, things might have changed. They didn't expect you to. And they're not that pleased when you do. That's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that it's not for you. You know, leave people feeling good. Some people will regard it as pestering. Some people will regard it as persistence. And it's a little bit of a fine line, to be honest. But if you're always light-hearted and pleasant to people, it shouldn't be a problem. Just don't go on and on and on at them. And this really moves over into social media, pestering. One big no-no, which is actually illegal, is messaging strangers on Facebook. Just randomly joining groups, contacting people and asking them. It is effectively spamming, and it's not right. There's nothing wrong with approaching people you know. If you normally message someone on Facebook, sending them a little message to say you've started a business, you're really excited, can you talk to them about it, or can you share some information? No problem. But there are a few things that are really not acceptable. One of the big ones that I hear people moaning about is people being added to groups when they didn't ask. And I've heard someone say, well, they can take themselves out of the group. And still, it's a bit irritating. But this is not just network marketers, and we get picked on for this. But I've been added to all kinds of groups and message threads without asking. I just leave. I just think, well, they were a bit amateur. They didn't really know what they were doing. I just leave. I don't get angry about it. I just move on. And your posts, don't spam your timeline either. Look at, if you're not sure how to work social media to the benefit of your business, ask some of your successful people. Look at some successful people. See what they do. See their lifestyle posts. See their occasional business posts. See their congratulations to people in their team who are achieving. It's not about join my team, join my team, join my team. And this really includes posting in other groups, for sale groups, networking groups, all sorts of places. There's nothing wrong with posting in those groups, provided it's allowed, it's not excessive, and it's interesting, it's well written, it's well crafted, it's not rubbish. I've seen some things that make me really cringe that aren't professional and that don't give the best impression of what we do and our business. And it's the same for your ads. Don't, if you're going to put an ad on any social form, write it in the right way. Now, you don't have to sound like Shakespeare, but make it appropriate for the platform that you're on. And make sure it's not full of mistakes and, text speak and things that are going to put some people off. So really, just make it ethical and give people a positive impression of what we do, and be positive. No negative posts. Truly, I know I'm in health and well-being, and some of the rest of you may be as well. If I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to stick it all over Facebook. It doesn't really look that good. But also, if I'm having a bad day, if I'm angry with someone who's really upset me, who needs to know? Who needs to share? Mostly I'm a happy person and my life and outlook are quite positive. That's what I want to share. And I think that makes sense, doesn't it? That's not anything strange or unusual. It doesn't mean that you go around all day with a stupid grin on your face. And if you're not the kind of person that normally posts angel quotes or uplifting messages, then ease up on that, or your friends will think it's really weird. But there's nothing wrong with posting some light-hearted good humour and some nice bits of lifestyle information. Just make it attractive. What you're trying to put across is just an attractive image of what we do. And when I say be positive, that goes on to handling no's, because you'll get a lot of no's in this business. And I always aim to leave people feeling better. Whether they've said no to me when I'm out in the street asking, approaching them about the business, or whether they've been through the process and it's not for them. Even if they've been a little bit sharp with me, and that has been known, I still try and make a positive out of it and make them feel good about saying no. This has a couple of benefits. First of all, I may then be able to offer them a chance to look at the products I have. And secondly, if they don't want to do that either, and they're not obliged, I might ask them if they wouldn't mind being an ambassador for me. You know, passing on the details of someone they know who might be more interested in what I have to offer. They're much more likely to say that, to say yes to that, if I've left them feeling good about saying no to me. And I just want to put in a little story about one of my team several years ago. And this may be one of the reasons she wasn't hugely successful. She had an appointment with someone, went to the person's house, they were out. Yeah, I've had that happen. I've had someone I'm pretty sure was in who wouldn't answer the door. People don't like to say no. They'd rather die than say no to you. They'd rather lie. They'd rather tell you that they're going to be interested in 6 months' time. They don't like saying no. They'd rather just be out. So she rang this lady, didn't get her, left a message. Really rude message saying she can't stand ignorance and she thought it was very rude, blah, blah, blah. And I said to her when she told me about it, what did that achieve? Well, she said, it made me feel better. Really? It meant that you were still carrying that anger around with you. But also, we have to remember, we don't know why someone's not answered the phone when they said they would, not been in when they said they would. They may have simply forgotten. They may have had an urgent appointment. Something terrible might have happened. They could have had an accident. Any one of 100 reasons. Now, by and large, the most likely one is that they didn't want to say no. But there's always a possibility of lots of other things. I had one lady who didn't show up to an appointment with me. She was ever so apologetic when I got hold of her a few days later. Her pregnant daughter had gone into hospital with premature labour. The daughter's husband was away and this lady had to go with her daughter. Not surprisingly, low on her list of priorities was phoning me. And I perfectly well understood. So you don't know why someone's not done what they said they were going to do. So handling no's is really important. You have to move on. We always say, you know, you can have a minute to have a pity party, and then you move on to the yes, because handling no's is better for us as well. We will all get lots and lots and lots of no's. I had a no from someone today. Well, I don't know not that I wanted to work with him anyway. But handling the no's in an ethical way. Don't make people feel guilty. Don't, please, try and pressure them into joining the team because they feel they ought to. I've known people talk someone into doing this business. So yes, handling no's in an honest and ethical way. Next slide, please, Laura. And the same kind of ethics really apply to when we're talking about our product or service. So we need to be honest, not hype. We love our products. Most of the network marketing companies I know of have excellent products. They're not sold in the shops, but they are high quality. They don't need the hype. They speak for themselves. Encourage people to try them and they'll see what you mean. Some of them will, some of them won't. But we can share them with integrity. Obviously, I'm sure we're all using our own products. I use loads and loads of my companies. I couldn't ethically recommend them to someone else if I didn't. How could I? That would be crazy. But we need not to hype them. You know, the products and the business speak for themselves. And we need to learn about our product and service. We need to be an authority, but we don't need that from day one. There is never anything wrong with saying, I'm brand new, or I've not heard that question before, to you. and do just that, find out and get back to them. You can't know everything, but as time goes on, we need to put in the effort to learning about our products, what to tell people about them, and how to put them across correctly. And one thing that we definitely need to do here is be legal and compliant. If, like me, you're in the health and well-being business, you must under no circumstances make non-compliant medical claims. That can be quite serious for the company. So we share stories about what people have found, what we've found, what we love about our products, and we're legal and compliant. The company guidelines from any reputable company make all of this really, really clear. Positive, always be positive. No what they call knocking copy, slagging off other people's products. That doesn't serve you well. No one will respect your product if you've slagged off someone else's, made negative comparisons, or, please God, shared the kind of horrible memes and messages that you see on Facebook saying that leading brand manufacturers do things that they don't or contain carcinogenic chemicals. Really, that kind of thing, first of all, doesn't help your business, but secondly, they're not true most of the time. And if anybody ever took the trouble to check, they'd know. So always be positive. Hold your products high. Deliver great customer care. I really do care about my customers. I spend time with them. I have a cup of tea with some of them. I know about their families, their holidays. You know, they tell me all kinds of things, and I love having that relationship with them. I don't discount, but I do give people a little gift. My regular loyal customers, they get a gift at Christmas, they'll sometimes get a little gift during the year. Sometimes I send them a card just to say thank you for your custom, because I know my business would be nowhere without them. And when it comes to discount, this is something that I just want to stress. I actually had a customer who, when the price of our products went up one year because VAT had gone up, said to me, if it goes up again, I won't have it. Well, it did. The company put its price up the following year and she stopped having it. And I said, oh, you know, I'm really sorry to hear that. I thought you were getting a great benefit. And she said, well, yeah, I was, but really can't afford it. Now, I could have said, okay, I'll let you have it at the existing price. But actually, it had only gone up by a few pence. And I didn't think that would be fair to my other customers, many of whom are no better off than she was, or even one or two of them, you know, really not that well off at all. How would it be fair to them to have the same product for less? So I lost a customer. Desperation is not attractive. I wasn't that desperate. I'm sorry she doesn't have it anymore. I'm sorry she was getting a benefit, but I couldn't do any more, and I wasn't prepared to compromise my ethics in the desperate chase for a customer. So don't poach other people's customers, don't offer them excessive discounts. The other reason I don't discount is because I know that someone with a small retail business, their income comes from their retail profit. If I'm undercutting them, I'm taking money away from them, and I don't think that's ethical either. So I look after my customers, I inform them, I give them gifts, I'm friendly, I speak to them as often as I think they want to speak to me. If I'm sensing that they perhaps don't want to be followed up, and some don't, then I ask them, would you like, you know, customer care is important to me, would you like me to stay in touch, or would you like me to take you off my contact list? Sometimes they'll say, I'll call you if I want something, and sometimes they do. Sometimes they say, yeah, please keep in touch. But I've asked them because I'm not interested in phoning someone who doesn't want to hear from me. Otherwise, I keep in regular contact with my customers, and most of them appreciate it. So those were just a few points that I hope are helpful in terms of growing a business in an ethical way. Can I have the next slide, please, Laura? Now, I don't know if you can read this, but after hearing all that, you might be thinking, and you might be a little bit wary about approaching people. And I think we have an obligation to offer people what we have. So I'm just going to read this poem very briefly. I saw it recently and I loved it. It had been a long day and I was finishing a task. As I hurried past her, that little voice said, "Ask." "Oh, not today," I told myself. "I'm tired and it shows. Besides, I could look foolish and it's likely she'll say no." While drifting off to sleep that night, I saw her face again. I wondered what her life was like, her dreams, her needs, her pain. What if she'd been praying for a friendly word or smile, the chance to meet somebody that would go that extra mile? What if she'd been looking for a break, an open door? Was this the opportunity that she'd been looking for? I saw the cars she would not drive, the rings she would not wear, because I would not risk myself to stop, to ask, to share. So what if what I offered her was not her cup of tea? There was a choice for her to make. How selfish could I be? When all my dreams are realized, I don't want to feel regret for the lives I didn't touch and change, the no's I didn't get. Oh, let me live the true, go get, and the true go give, and let my mission be, not do I need her, but maybe she needs me. We can change lives with this business, so we need to offer it to people in an ethical way. As I said, I'm eternally grateful that someone offered me. Next slide, please, Laura. And this is the last slide, so I'm sorry if I've gone over a little bit. Timings are a bit tricky. I'd just like to finish with another quote from the wonderful Eric Worre. If any of you have ever listened to any of his webinars, any of his online trainings, you'll know that he finishes with, "It's my wish that you will choose to become a network marketer," and then followed by this, because it's a stone cold fact that we have a better way. Now let's go tell the world. I hope that this webinar has helped us to tell the world in a more ethical way and get a fantastic reputation for this business that can literally change people's lives. Thank you very much for listening to me.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much, Jenny, for sharing that with everybody today. So I think there's a lot of really great information there, and I very much appreciate you agreeing to do this and share it with the group.
Laura, thank you for asking me.